Just heard from the former spokesperson on the eradication of political correctness, and he wants to know why we weren't making any noise, because we're asleep. Mr. Speaker, this is a government with no plan, no new ideas, but lots of smiles from Mr. Key, who is starting to look like a poor man's Wizard of Oz, a travelling magician who pulls out every other trick every other time that the one before didn't work. But you can only trick Dorothy and the Tin Man for so long because the people of New Zealand are starting to see there is no plan. There is no way back to Kansas. What has the Wizard of New Zealand pulled out of his bag so far? Well, we've had the 2025 task force, which was meant to show how we could catch up with Australia. Well, what happened to that? Nothing. Don Brash failed to deliver. No surprises there, as the Kiwi kid says about the Aussie kid in the TV ad. But Don's still being kept on to give another report next year. Yet he's run out of money already. Now that's some trick for the former governor of the Reserve Bank in charge of New Zealand's monetary policy. He runs out of his budget in the first year of the task force. Then we had the Jobs Summit. How's that going? No new jobs, unemployment on the rise. The government that my colleagues on my right here and I were in halved unemployment to 4% when we went out of office. This government has increased it by 50% already, still rising. Now it's almost returned to what it was under the last national government, and you can't blame that on the recession, especially when the only idea to save jobs was a 9-day fortnight. That was meant to save thousands of jobs by getting people to work less so that they got paid less and businesses stayed afloat. That was the idea. At most, it saved 100 jobs for the whole of New Zealand. And then John Key came up with another wizard idea. You can sell the 4th week of your holidays. So that means that the solution to New Zealand's problem is to get people to work longer. Now, actually, before it was to get work less, now it's to get work longer. And then they had this great idea of a 9-day fortnight. We're going to work less still and get paid less as well. So, and what a magician's sleight of hand to suggest that you have the choice to sell your annual leave. In my book, it's just working an extra week and getting paid for it. It's not exactly rocket science, is it really? But this is going to save New Zealand and catch up to Australia. Oh, really? Now, why not take Christmas Day tomorrow and then decide to sell it and work anyway? Would that fix it? We'd catch up with Australia then. Well, then we had the cycleway. This was meant to create jobs. This was the great new innovation for New Zealand, the cycleway. Tourist industries were meant to pop up all along the cycleway. All we've seen so far is pictures of John Key on a bike, smiling as always. It'll take more than a push bike and a cycleway in New Zealand to fix up the New Zealand economy. But however, now we've got the answer. It's mining. Mining is it. We dig up the country just like Australia and we're going to catch up to them. Well, what happened to that? Another flip-flop, because the smiling PM doesn't want to be unpopular. He discovered this wasn't all that popular. 40,000 people up Queen Street actually convinced him of that, and so there isn't going to be that. If John Key and his government were serious about growing the economy, they wouldn't just pay lip service to the farming sector. That's our largest economic earner. The truth is agriculture makes up 43% of New Zealand's exports. Is there anything about that John Key does not understand? And yet, and compared to tourism, he took tourism, which is 17% of the economy. He didn't take agriculture, which is 43%. Gee, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? You want to really lead the economy, so you take an industry that's less than half as important as the one you don't take, and then you don't mention it. And yet John never mentioned farming in the 2008 post-election speech from the throne, never mentioned it. Didn't mention it in 2009 in his speech to Parliament at the beginning of this year. I mean, I'm a member of Parliament for an urban electorate, and I mention agriculture all the time. Mind you, I was told by Helen Clark to mention it, and I did, and I was a good minister. But nothing wrong with supporting tourism, but there's a heck of a lot wrong with not supporting and ignoring farming. If he thinks we can grow the New Zealand economy while ignoring the farming sector and building cycleways, he's dreaming. What kind of Mickey Mouse economics smashes the Fast Forward Fund for research in the primary sector and cancels the tax credit for business in favour of a cycleway? We do away with the New Zealand Fast Forward Fund. We do away with research and development rebates for business, but we replace it with a cycle fund. Now, that'll work. Yeah, right.
Dr. Jackie Blue.